Rachel Reeves just walked into a trap so obvious that a former Labour minister called it out in The Guardian. And the worst part, she's now setting more traps for herself. And this government is in a doom loop where, in trying to look strong, they end up looking weak. I'm Jamie from Accounts, and today I am going to show you how Jeremy Hunt sabotaged his successors and how Labour's three promises destroyed Rachel Reeves' chancellorship before it even began. Father, Son, Holy Ghost, liberty, equality, fraternity, the good, the bad and the ugly. The latter two of those we're about to come on to. 3 is the magic number. It sounds complete, it's balanced, it's memorable. And the Conservatives often use it quite perfectly. In November 2019, the Conservative manifesto, alongside Get Brexit Done, included 3 tax promises. No income tax rises, no national insurance rises, and no VAT rises. At the time, it sounded reasonable, if not prudent. But here's what those 3 taxes actually represent. Income tax, 194 billion a year. National insurance, another 177 billion. And VAT, 149 billion. So that's a total of 520 billion, which is 67% of all government revenue. So the 3 promises actually meant that they tied both their hands behind their backs whenever raising revenue. So after COVID, the Treasury Select Committee warned about this. Their 2021 report, Tax After Coronavirus, predicted that governments would ultimately resort to fiscal drag, capital tax raids and pension restrictions, and that the promises that had been made would be unsustainable. Now, every single warning is now Labour's reality. But then Jeremy Hunt became Chancellor in October 2022 and was supposed to be the sensible one. In 2023 and 2024, he turbocharged this with 3 moves. His first move was in March 23, where he abolished the pension lifetime allowance. Now, this was something being discussed as a way to keep NHS doctors working. But of course, Hunt did it in a way that gave the wealthiest a massive tax break. So that was $1 billion a year, letting them accumulate wealth tax-free. In his second move, he then started to make national insurance cuts. So in January, he cut it from 12% to 10%, with 10 billion gone. And then in March 24, he cut it again, down to 8%, which was another 10 billion cost to the government. So that's 20 billion a year, with a hint that he's considering abolishing the whole thing. And then his third move, which was kind of going on throughout this, was that he took the UK's fiscal cushion from 40 billion to just 10 billion. So that left the government needing 20 billion minimum, but with only 10 billion wiggle room left. And he did all of this knowing, absolutely knowing, that the Tories were going to lose. Hunt handed Labour a poisoned chalice. But on getting to it, Reeves said, "Thanks, I'll have another." The 3 promises locked down 67% of revenue. The 3 moves made those promises into a fiscal time bomb. And now we're watching it all explode. So, Labour heads towards the 2024 election. Hunt has just cut national insurance twice, 20 billion a year. And then he issues a challenge with Rachel Reeves. Will Rachel Reeves reverse my tax cuts? And this is the moment. Chris Mullin, the former Labour minister I mentioned earlier, he wrote in The Guardian what Labour should have said, which was, "We will decide when we're elected and how much of a mess you've left." And by the way, this election will be about the dreadful state of the public sector, not about taxes. It had been simple, honest and defensible. But instead, as Mullin put it, Reeves fell headlong into the trap. Not only did she promise not to reverse Hunt's cuts, she adopted the full 2019 promise. No income tax, no VAT, no national insurance rises. The tax triple lock in full. Both parties ducked the honest conversations about tax reform. The difference, Labour was about to win and inherit the consequences. The trap sprang shut. But walking into Hunt's trap wasn't enough. And it's been like watching someone try to defuse a bomb by adding more bombs. Reeves added 3 constraints. Constraint 1, the one and done October 2024 budget. Raised 40 billion, biggest tax rise since 93, and declares it one and done. But leaves, again, only 10 billion of headroom, half of what experts said she needed. Constraint 2 she's now added is the corporation tax stability. So in February 2025, promises that corporation tax would not rise, and that means another 80 billion revenue stream locked. Constraint 3, tight borrowing rules with minimum flexibility left. Added up, income tax, NI, VAT, corporation tax, over 600 billion is now untouchable. But by April 2025, she needs another 25 billion. And what's left? Fiscal drag hitting nurses harder than landlords, more employer NI, already at 15%, and word games about what counts as a tax rise. Every option worse than just saying we need to raise income tax by 2p. But she can't because of Hunt's 3 promises that she adopted and then added 3 more constraints of her own. And now she's in a doom loop. The pension tax switch I covered last week is a perfect example. Instead of saying we're asking wealthy pensioners to pay more whilst protecting workers, that's progressive taxation, there were leaked briefings testing the calling it of a switch, comment that they weren't breaking the manifesto, and the Telegraph saw through it, the Times saw through it, the voters would have seen through it, and so they U-turned before the official announcement. And then each reassurance that gets made is making markets more nervous. Gilt yields are now north of 4.5%, and markets are pricing in a fiscal crisis. Not because Reeves is too radical now, but because she's become too constrained. And you know what really hurts growth, Reeves's great focus? Well, teachers who can't afford to live where they teach, nurses leaving for Australia, and lucky people stockpiling scarce resources like housing. That's what happens when you keep taxing work harder whilst cutting taxes on wealth. And every constraint she's added to look stable is making her look more desperate. And the box that she's created is crushing her credibility. Hunt's trap worked perfectly. Reeves's 3 constraints stopped her fixing anything. So 6 constraints, each designed to project strength, each creating weakness. 3 plus 3 equals trapped. And here's the thing about 3 in politics. 3 promises do sound good, 3 pledges feel solid, 3 guarantees seem credible. But fixing Britain's tax system, that's not a 3-step process. The whole complex system needs radical reform to work in a modern economy. And we shouldn't trust anyone offering easy scapegoats and simplistic solutions from the right or from the left. However, we also need to be understood. And for that, I think politicians do need the power of 3, but with 3 principles of what they're going to do, not 3 promises. Now, my principles would be as follows. Principle 1, tax must be fair. Whatever the source, wages, rent, dividends, capital gains, income should be taxed fairly. Right now, a nurse earning £35,000 a year sees 28% deducted. A landlord with £35,000 of income will be paying 20%. Same income, different treatment. And that's before you count employers' 15% national insurance on top. A cleaner can realistically be paying a higher tax rate than the CEO they work for. And that's not fair. Fair means a nurse and a landlord earning the same amount pay the same tax. Principle 2, tax must be functional. Tax rules should be clear and easy to understand. When people can see how the system works, they can trust it, and they can challenge unfairness at elections. We're still using a system that was fundamentally designed by the Edwardians. The IFS calculated that, for example, just merging NI and income tax could raise 12 billion extra just from removing anomalies. As former Labour Minister Chris Mullen noted, tax fairly raised and wisely used is the subscription we pay for living in civilization. My third principle is that the system must be sustainable. Tax must enable the investment and public services that make growth possible, not strangle it. Simple, predictable rules that help businesses thrive whilst funding what we need. Fair, functional, sustainable. FFS. Fix the system. Those could be 3 principles to win an election, but also then govern effectively. They tackle inequality, raise revenue sustainably, rebuild trust. And nothing I'm saying is radical. The Institute for Fiscal Studies produced Tax by Design, probably one of the most comprehensive reviews of UK taxation in decades. And it basically concluded all of this. And it's been there since 2011. The blueprint exists. But politicians just keep ignoring it in favour of 3-word slogans that fit on a battle bus. 3 promises got us here. 3 principles could start to get us out. But politicians would need to stop treating voters like children who can't handle the truth about tax or spending. Anyway, that's me for today. For my next video, I'm going to look at the latest proposal that's just been leaked in advance of the budget, which is scrapping stamp duty. And stamp duty is a terrible tax, possibly the worst, and this would be a good policy decision. But Reeves, well, will she manage to get there without having to U-turn? If you'd like to support my efforts, then please like, share and subscribe. I'm Jamie from Accounts. If we fix tax, we can fix Britain. Thank you.